Welcome to this guide on writing your first blog post with Claude. My name is Lewis with Content Logic Dynamics, and by the end of this video, you'll have a clear system for writing blog posts that you can use again and again. Let's get started. Here's what you're going to be learning in this video. The first thing you'll be learning is choosing your topic. The second thing will be creating your content blueprint. Third, you'll be learning how to write with Claude. And after that, you will learn how to polish and publish the blog post. And lastly, you will be learning the common pitfalls to avoid. Here is why most beginners pick the wrong topics. This is a few of the common errors that people make. The first one is oversaturated market mistake, which is choosing an extremely broad and competitive topic like how to make money online or weight loss tips. Another one is called the passion market mismatch. And the error would be selecting topics based purely on like personal interest without validating the market. Another one would be trend chasing trap. And that one would be following temporary trends without establishing sustainable long-term content strategy. This is section 1, will be choosing your topic. And these are 3 approaches to choosing your topic. The first would be the convergence method. The second would be the community pulse analysis. And the third would be the trend anticipation framework. The first approach is called the convergence method, and this approach is identifying intersection points between established topics and emerging trends, technologies, and societal shifts. The way you would use this approach would be to list out 2 to 3 or more established topics that you are knowledgeable about, and you would monitor these and how they intersect with the emerging trends. And the way you would do this would be using tools like Google Trends, Reddit, and even some industry newsletters. All right, the second approach is called the community pulse analysis. And this basically just leverages existing online communities to identify questions and challenges that are not thoroughly addressed. And you would monitor platforms like Quora, Discord, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, other social media platforms for different recurring questions that are in your niche. You could create a spreadsheet to track the questions over a period of time. And you would keep track of the topics that consistently generate any kind of discussion but that lacks a definitive solution. The third approach is called the trend anticipation framework, and this just focuses on identifying trends before they peak. And you do that by analyzing multiple data sources and market signals. The way you would do this would be like setting up alerts on Google Trends based on certain keywords or topics that you come up with. And you would just look for patterns where the different indicators point to the same development in the niche. You would look through social media, uh, keyword search volume, investment behavior, stuff like that. And you would focus on the recent content about specific applications or implications of these emerging trends. So this is going to be a quick demonstration on choosing a topic. This is the Claude interface that I'm in, and I had previously copied a prompt. So I gave it a role, I gave it a task, and I also gave it a goal. And I put in generate 10 viral titles to blog about for casserole recipes in the food niche. So let me try here and see what it gives me. And this is showing, and you can see right there it says January because we're in January 2025. Right here you can see the elements that drive engagement. It gives you clear value proposition, social proof elements, emotional triggers, numbers and specifics, food trends. It even gives you the food trends. So it gives you right here, you can see the different titles that it gives you. The viral French onion soup casserole. I turned my mom's famous lasagna into a one-pan casserole, and my Italian grandmother actually approved. So all these right here are based on trends that are currently going on in the food niche. And you can use any of these to create some kind of content, like, you could blog post, a YouTube video, all different kinds of content. You could even expand it if you wanted to. You can go in here and type in like, please expand upon, and you would just put in one of these titles. So as you can see right here, based on the prompt that you give, you can come up with all kinds of different title ideas for blogs, and you can even just keep going. You can put in the same prompt, and you can put in give me 10 more title ideas, or you could put in a number like 25 or something. So this was like a demonstration right here just to show you that you can come up with tons and tons of different content ideas based on the prompt that you put in. And again, I'll leave this prompt in the video description so anyone can try this out to see what kind of answers that they get based on the niche that they put in. Section 2 is going to be creating a content blueprint. And the first step of that would be creating the outline through a prompt. Second would be breaking the topic up into 3 to 5 main sections. Sometimes it could be 5 to 7. It just depends on how long you want the blog post to be. And then also you can use Claude to expand each section. So I'm back at Claude. I'm going to show you a way to create a content blueprint. I already have a prompt here that I input. I gave it a role, expert blog outline agent. I give it a task, create an outline for the specified topic. And I gave the framework that the outline should have. And this is just an example. I mean, you can tweak it however you want. I can also include this prompt along with the other prompt in the video description. I'm going to include an intro section, a what you will learn section, 3 main sections, and then 3 subsections for each main section, a recap, and a conclusion and call to action. And I'm going to choose a topic, urban gardening in small spaces. And let's see what this will give us. So as you can see here, it put out a pretty good response. It tells you about each section. Like right here, it says, our introduction will capture readers' attention by acknowledging the common challenge urban dwellers face, wanting to grow their own food but feeling limited by space constraints. So it actually tells you what the introduction will do or will be about. Same thing about the what you will learn section. And it comes down here and tells you about all the sections that you specified in the prompt. So like main section 2, it's got all the different information about each section or what it's the information that it's supposed to contain, and including the recap section and the conclusion and call to action. So if you wanted to expand a section, like if you wanted to expand section 2, you would put in this prompt right here. So I'm telling it for the section on choosing the right growing systems, what are the key points I should cover to help beginners make good decisions? And I also specified include specific examples. So now it's giving me back an answer here. So as you can see, it says I'll explain the key points for, and this is the name of the section. It's actually a pretty good amount of information here. Container gardening gives you a practical example here. Different things that you can use. Cotton rope, a 2-liter soda bottle as a reservoir, basic hydroponic nutrients. Gives you some space-saving techniques. And it basically tells you this systematic approach prevents the common beginner mistake of overcrowding or inefficiently spacing plants. Gives you learning curve, space and light, and even asks you at the bottom after the answer, it says, would you like me to elaborate? So you could technically ask it to elaborate on certain aspects if you wanted to, which will, expand it even more than it is now. So right here we have the main components of the content blueprint. The 4 pillars are quality control checkpoints, using Claude for section enhancement, expanding blog sections, and also creating content bridges. So like an example of a content bridge would be from section 2 to the next section of the previous example I showed you about the plants, would be, now that you understand your growing conditions, let's look at which plants will thrive in your unique space. Basically, it gives the reader like some kind of reason to read the next section. So they remain engaged, that they want to know about, the rest of the post. And this is what I like to call the golden rule of structure. It basically says that every piece of info in the blog post should either solve a problem or prevent one. And if something doesn't serve either purpose, it doesn't belong in the blueprint at all. So that's a good piece of information to keep in mind, and also so you don't have any like wasted space in the blog post itself. And I will probably include the previous slide with the content blueprint components in some sort of a document, maybe like a Google Doc or some kind of PDF, so that way it can be downloaded. Section 3 will be writing with Claude, and that includes things like different prompts for the different blog sections that you can just copy the outline and include that as the context when you put the prompt in, so it will give you a better response. You can also have tone refinement if you choose, changing the tone like professional, casual, etc. Also, another important thing is maintaining your unique voice by injecting like personal experiences, insights, things of that nature. And also another aspect is adding transitional phrases for better informational flow from one section to the next. So I'm back here at Claude, and I'm going to show an example of writing introduction based on the outline that we established earlier. So I copied this section of what the outline is supposed to be, and I'm giving the prompt here. I set the role as expert blog introduction writer. I put the task as write a compelling short introduction that will capture readers' attention based on the specified topic. I'm going to use the previous topic of urban gardening. So I stated it here, write a short introduction for a blog post titled How to Start Urban Gardening in Small Spaces. And it's going to base it on this context here, and it should give me a introduction to the blog post. So as you can see here, it's giving me the response. This is the introduction. And if you want to, you could make this shorter. It's up to you. It depends on what you're writing about, how long you want the blog post to be. So just as an example, I could revise it by saying, make this introduction one paragraph shorter. And as you can see here, it now cuts out one of the paragraphs and gives you just a 2-paragraph introduction. Although this is a shorter introduction, you could technically keep this paragraph in the center here as a real world example, kind of like to show that somebody actually had success with a garden in an urban area. So that's just one thing to think about, again, depending on what you're trying to write and what you're trying to achieve. Another thing to note is that you can change the prompt here depending on what section of the blog you wanted to write. You would just copy from the outline, like the conclusion, what the conclusion is supposed to be, for example, and you could just type in expert blog conclusion agent or expert blog conclusion writer, and then just make sure the topic is whatever you're going to write it as, and then the instructions, depending on what you want to write. So you could basically use that for any part of the blog, and then you would just expand each section, and inject your own voice into it. One important aspect of AI enhanced writing is adding your own personal touch, and you can do that through story integration, language customization, and flow enhancement. When it comes to story integration, you can share your own personal experiences and lessons. You can add your own examples alongside Claude's suggestions. You could also include your own unique insights and observations. When it comes to language customization, you could adjust vocabulary to match your speaking style. You could add phrases and expressions that you use. You could also modify analogies that reflect your own unique perspective. And when it comes to flow enhancement, this would be rearranging information in the preferred structure that you want. You can add in transitional phrases that you use, and you can also include your typical thought processes. And by doing all of these things, it will add your own personal touch and make it more of a unique experience. Right here, we have some example troubleshooting prompts. So like if something feels too generic, you can give it this prompt here that says, please provide more specific practical details about container selection for urban balconies, including actual brands and materials that work well. This is going back to the earlier blog post topic that we used about urban gardens. Another one would be trying to change the tone if you feel the tone isn't right. You could use this example here, rewrite this section in a more casual, friendly tone while maintaining the technical accuracy. Include conversational phrases and relatable examples. And the third one, if you needed more depth to a section that you were writing, you could put in this example prompt that says, what additional real-world examples, case studies, or expert insights would make this section more valuable for beginners? By adding something like that in, it could rewrite the section and probably make it a little bit better. Here are some quality assurance tips. When you want to run each section through a quality check, you can use these 3 checks to better polish the overall blog post itself. And what you would do is you would run each section of the blog through these 3 different tests here: information accuracy, engagement level, and flow and readability. And by doing this, you're basically making the entire blog post a lot more readable and more accurate. So it basically enhances the overall experience for anyone who reads your blog post. Section 4, the final section, is polish and publish. And there's a 3-layer editing system. So basically it's a set of ways to review and make sure the blog is exactly the way you want it before you actually publish it. And this is a 3-layer editing system. So the first layer would be content and structure review. Second layer is language and style enhancement. And the third layer is technical accuracy and fact checking. Just as an example of layer 2, the language and style enhancement, I'm going to put in this prompt down here to run it through a check to see if the language is like confusing, and maybe if it could suggest some clearer alternatives. So I'm going to run this and I'll see what it gives me. And as you can see here, it gives you several different things. It breaks down the terms basically. Urban gardeners appears twice and might sound unnecessarily formal to someone just starting out. While it's technically accurate, we could say city gardeners or simply people growing food in cities to feel more approachable. So it's basically giving you like reasonings to change this if you chose to change this term here and write it in a more simpler way, I guess you could say. So you can see also too, the original is right here, and then it gives you a whole nother more accessible version. Like they kind of like rewrote it. These city gardeners show us that you don't need a big yard to grow your own food instead of these urban gardeners. So as you can see here, when you run a check like that, it can change the writing based on what you prompt, and it could give you a lot more ideas on how you could possibly improve your writing based on, the niche that you want to write about and based on what you actually want to write. Let's go over some common pitfalls to avoid. When working with Claude, simply asking for a blog post about marketing is not optimal. Instead, you should clearly specify the target audience and their knowledge level, the specific angle or perspective you want to explore, the desired length and format, and the intended tone and style. Another pitfall is not leveraging Claude's analytical capabilities. Claude excels at processing and analyzing complex information, but many writers don't take full advantage of this strength. When crafting a blog post, you should ask Claude to compare different approaches or methodologies, request data-driven insights and explanations, Have Claude break down complex topics into digestible components, and use Claude's ability to provide nuanced perspectives on industry trends. Another pitfall to avoid is overlooking the importance of engagement elements. Many writers focus solely on the main content when working with Claude, forgetting crucial engagement elements that make blog posts more effective. Remember to request compelling introductions that hook readers, relevant examples and case studies, strategic subheadings for better readability, actionable takeaways, thought provoking questions for reader engagement, and clear calls to action. And a fourth pitfall you should avoid is not iterating and refining the content. A common mistake is accepting Claude's first draft without further refinement. The best blog posts often emerge through an iterative process where you review the initial content and identify areas for improvement. You ask Claude to expand on particularly interesting points. You request additional examples or clarification when needed. You have Claude adjust the tone or style based on your brand voice, and you optimize the content for SEO by incorporating relevant keywords naturally. All right, just to recap what we went over in this entire video. First, we went over choosing your topic. Second thing we went over was creating a content blueprint. Third thing we went over was writing with Claude. And finally, we went over polishing and publishing your blog post. Here's some tips for future-proofing your content. You can do things like schedule regular content reviews. You can plan updates for time-sensitive information. You can also monitor comment feedback for potential improvement. And you can also track post performance for optimization. Just keep in mind that the polishing phase isn't just about fixing errors, it's about elevating your content from good to great. So if you take the time to go through each step thoroughly, you'll create content that stands out and provides real value to your readers. All right, that is the end of this tutorial. I just wanted to give a quick thank you for watching. I will leave the prompts in the description, and I will leave the slides as a PDF file for download in the description. All right, see you in the next one.